Do you want to write but you can't? I'm not talking in a writer's block, I don't have any words, the words won't come kind of way. I'm talking the kind of way where you have the words, you have the story, you want to write, but you are not finding the time. This was me. And if this is also you, you're going to want to stay tuned because we're going to talk about writing routines today, which is something that I think every writer really needs. It can really take your output from 0 to thousands of words per month and get you to the finish line of whatever writing project you're currently working on. So let's get straight into it. I'm Kendall, and this is Plot to Print. And for a long time, I was not writing. I had a current writing project that I was working on, but I was just not making the time to write. I had the story down, I had my outline. It's not that I didn't have a passion for writing anymore. It's just that more often than not, I was not making the time to write. I thought I was too busy for it, or so I told myself. So like a lot of people, I also have a day job that I use to pay the bills between publishing books, and I also have a lot of other personal responsibilities in my life. It might be family obligation, it might be caring for pets, caring for myself, cooking, working out, doing errands, paying bills, the whole kind of gamut that makes up our daily lives. I also, of course, like a lot of people, have a requirement for a certain amount of rest and relaxation. I like my social life, and there's also a few hobbies that I don't want to give up. And so, of all those things, out of all those responsibilities and obligations, what ended up falling to the wayside? Well, it was my writing routine, of course. And I say writing routine, but I actually never really had a writing routine. I was the type of writer for a really long time who I just kind of was fitting in writing whenever I could. You know, if I had a spare 30 minutes to an hour that I found myself with, I would sit down and try to cram in some words. However, I found that this way of working wasn't always necessarily producing the best results. A lot of times when I was trying to cram in those sessions of writing, I'd be sitting down at a time that maybe I wasn't feeling the most inspired or the most creative. And sometimes I would just sit down and I'd feel burnt out, and I was not very productive during the time that I was sitting down to work on my project. And because those writing sessions went sort of bad or poorly or didn't really leave me feeling the best when I walked away from my desk, I didn't necessarily find myself looking forward to the next time I was going to sit down and write. Then, while I was researching a different topic for this channel, which is another obligation of mine, I ran into it, which was the inspiration for this video about the writing routine, and everything just sort of clicked into place. So, what is a writing routine? What do you need to get started with one? Let's just get straight into it with tip number 1. You need to set a time and an amount of time per day that you can work on your writing project. This may take some pre-planning, but I want you to kind of take stock of your week. Most likely you have some sort of set schedule, you know what time you're doing certain things. Maybe it's clocking into work, maybe it's walking the dog, maybe it's eating dinner. So the first thing you really need to do is take stock of your week. Figure out the times during your week that you have these moments, or not moments, but hopefully an hour or two that you can set aside for your writing routine. And it doesn't need to be every day. For instance, my writing routine personally falls on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and sometimes Saturdays. So I don't have a full week of writing. I've identified a chunk of time, usually first thing in the morning, that I can use uninterrupted to write. I've also identified the amount of time that I think it's feasible that I stay focused on my project, and for me this is 90 minutes right now at least. And you may find yourself starting out with less time or finding yourself wanting more time. It's really just a matter of personal preference. But for me, 90 minutes is the time that I know I can for sure devote and stay very, very focused on my writing. So by identifying when and for how long you can work, you can really start to identify these times during the week that you can set aside for writing. And I will say that your writing routine also doesn't need to be one chunk of time. If your day is more the style of hey, I've got 2 chunks of shorter time that I can work with. Maybe you want to write on your commute to and from work, or something like that. You can always break up your writing routine into chunks of time. The point is, you just kind of want to stay consistent with that time of day and that amount of time that you're writing for. In making and sticking to a schedule, you kind of prime your brain and body to know that this is the time that you're going to sit down and write and focus, rather than just sitting down at any time that you can squeeze in and hoping that your brain is going to be ready to write, that you're going to be in the zone. Kind of think of it as showing up to a race in running shoes rather than galoshes. My next recommendation is your writing routine needs to be distraction-free. That's right, you need to set your phone down. Better yet, pick it up and put it somewhere else. Put it in another room, put it across the room, do something else with it. Your writing routine is sacred time. It's not a time for you to check text messages, to respond to email, to browse Facebook, to look at Instagram, to look at TikTok. It's also not a time to do research for your book, which is also something that we kind of want to think falls into the process, but doesn't. So what I really recommend is that you take your phone and utilize either the do not disturb mode on it or the airplane mode. Turn one of those on, put it somewhere, and then get into writing. If it really makes you anxious, and I'll also admit it kind of makes me anxious a little bit to have it on do not disturb mode, you can always go in and set a contact or contacts that you want to be able to text you in case of emergency. So tell that contact, hey, this is my writing time. If you need me in case of emergency, you can text me, but try not to just be like, texting me for whatever reason. And so this kind of works in 2 ways. You're going to take some of that anxiety of being unreachable out of the equation, and you're also letting the people around you know that you're establishing a writing routine. So if you can let your spouse know, your roommate, someone else you live with, your self-sufficient child, anybody in your life that, hey, this is the time that I'm going to use for writing. Really, really try, if you can, not to disturb me unless you absolutely need me. Then I think that that's awesome. I also want to say, if you tell people, you may find that they're even encouraging you, and that also kind of gives you a much-needed boost sometimes. If you're writing on a internet-connected device like a laptop or a desktop, I really recommend that you close your browsers, and if you need to take it one step further, disconnect from the internet, because the internet is a black hole. Once you open a browser and start researching any topic, the likelihood that you're going to waste the precious minutes of your writing routine that you set aside just skyrockets. So I want to say the writing routine is not for research. If you find yourself in the middle of writing and you're like, crap, I don't know, exactly the mechanism for this thing I'm writing about, or I don't have, the proper history behind some of the lore that I'm using, or anything like that, even if you need a character's name, a town's name, put brackets, use some kind of tool in your document. So for me, I like to put brackets. There's also, tools inside of your different document writing software. You can use document notes, you can use highlighting, you can use bold, anything that's going to be a placeholder for you, so you can come back to it later, and you can just continue on in the flow of your writing without having to worry about stopping to research. Because believe me, during your writing routine, focusing is your friend, and you can do this. My final routine is to get in the zone. AKA, make this time a time that you look forward to. And so for me, what that means when I get into my writing routine, I'll kind of start off by making myself a cup of tea or coffee. For instance, for you, you may have a playlist or music that really sets the tone and the mood for your writing project. You can also decide, I'm going to slip into an especially cozy pair of slippers. You can turn on twinkle lights in your room. You can open your window and get a nice breeze. You can even go and decide, hey, my writing routine is going to take me out to my favorite cafe, my favorite bar, or even a new place you've been thinking about checking out. You can write at the park. The point is, you want to make your writing routine a little special and give it a little pizzazz so that it's something that you really end up looking forward to. I think our days are already really jam-packed, so the more that we can kind of combine our writing routines with a little bit of me time, I think that that's even better. You want to get yourself a little excited about your writing routine, and also I think that there is great importance in kind of ritualizing these things. So the ritual of, for instance, me making myself that cup of tea or coffee kind of signals to my brain, okay, it's time to get in the zone, it's time for writing, let's do this. So if you can pinpoint some things that'll make your writing routine feel a little bit extra special, I would definitely say throw them into the mix, and I think that you'll really benefit from doing that. And you'll look forward to doing your writing as well. So to top it all off, I really recommend a writing routine. It's really done wonders for my current project. I've gone from writing maybe hundreds of words a month, hopefully, to writing, in the high thousands. And this is just a complete 180 from what I was doing before. So I think that you do need that routine. I did it for many years where I just tried to cram in writing whenever, but I've noticed that my productivity is a lot higher since I've started to employ the routine. So identify a time that you can write, how long you can stay focused for, make sure that time is distraction free, and make it a little bit special. So let me know down in the comments if you have a writing routine, or if you just are curious about starting one. It's always something to kind of think to yourself and explore. I myself had heard about writing routines for a really long time and finally became desperate enough to try one, and it's really done wonders for me. So there you go. If you liked this video and you found it valuable, please give us a like or subscribe so we can continue to make these videos, and we will see you on the next one. We appreciate you. Bye.